Hey there, before we dive into this story, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button on my channel and join our community. Now, let's get into it. Mom shifted the conversation effortlessly, mentioning that Tyler's wedding venue in Hawaii requires deposits soon. We were hoping you could pitch in around $10,000, she said. This was moments after they brushed off repaying the loans I'd given them. Family supports family, Dad declared with conviction. A sudden, sharp knock at the door turned their heads. They had no clue who was standing outside. I'm Luna, 27, and I teach third grade at Oakwood Elementary. My first paycheck at 16, earned from weekend shifts at the mall, didn't go to trendy outfits like my friends. Instead, I handed most of it to my parents for our family's emergency fund. That habit stuck. For 11 years, I've been the financial fallback for my family. Car repairs for my brother? Luna's got it. Mom's credit card debt? Turn to Luna. Dad's surprise tax bill? Luna will cover it. Meanwhile, my brother, now an investment banker, lives in a sleek downtown apartment, while I share a modest two-bedroom with a roommate. Despite my teacher's salary, I've lent them over $32,000 over the years. Each time, I insisted on handwritten IOUs, which they signed with dramatic sighs and eye rolls, dismissing them as unnecessary family formalities. I wasn't jetting off on lavish trips or driving a flashy car like my brother, but I had something they never anticipated: meticulous records of every dollar they borrowed. If your family has ever taken advantage of your kindness and then acted like you're the issue, hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. You're not alone in this struggle. 6 months ago, an infected wisdom tooth left me in agony, the pain radiating to my temple. The emergency dentist demanded $3,200 upfront for surgery. Money I didn't have, as years of family loans had nearly wiped out my savings. In the dentist parking lot, I called Mom, fighting back tears. I hate to ask, but I need help just until my next paycheck. Her voice grew distant. Sweetie, we're short on cash right now. Can't you use a credit card? This was 2 days after my brother rolled up to their house in a shiny new BMW. The same brother who borrowed $5,000 from me for investment capital last year and never brought it up again. I ended up charging the surgery and taking on extra tutoring gigs to pay it off. The dental pain eased, but the sting of their dismissal lingered. At our weekly family dinner last Sunday, I mustered my courage while passing the mashed potatoes. Mom, about that $5,000 you borrowed last month for the roof repair. Any chance you can start paying it back? The room fell silent. Mom set her wine glass down with a sharp clink. That wasn't a loan, honey, she said, her tone sugary but her eyes icy. That was you helping the family as you should. Dad, mouthful of pot roast, nodded. After swallowing, he added, we raised you, paid for your education. You don't keep a tally with family. My face flushed, but I pressed on. You signed IOUs for all the money over the years. My brother burst out laughing, nearly choking on his drink. Those aren't legally binding, sis. You really thought they meant something. Humiliation soured my stomach. I stared at my plate, appetite gone. Don't you understand what no means, Luna? Mom snapped. We're not your personal bank anymore. The irony made me want to scream. They treated me like their ATM for years. Before I could respond, Mom switched gears with practiced ease. By the way, Tyler's wedding venue in Hawaii needs deposits soon. We figured you could chip in about $10,000 since you don't have kids or a mortgage. That's when the real betrayals began to unfold. 2 weeks after they asked me to fund my brother's wedding, I spotted photos on Instagram. My entire family, Mom, Dad, Tyler, his fiancée, her parents, and their friends sat around a long table at Riverstone, the priciest restaurant in town. I texted Mom casually, "What dinner was this?" Her reply, "Oh, just the wedding planning dinner. Immediate family and close friends only." My fingers hovered over the keyboard before I typed, "But I am immediate family." Her response came quickly, "You know what I mean, Luna. The people directly involved in the wedding planning." Apparently, I was involved enough to pay but not to be invited. The second betrayal hit at the neighborhood 4th of July barbecue. While filling my plate, I overheard Mom by the grill, talking to Mrs. Peterson and other neighbors. We're so worried about Luna, she said, her voice thick with false concern. She's struggling with money again. That's why she wouldn't help with Tyler's bachelor party. I froze, plate in hand, as she went on. She's always been terrible with finances, bless her heart. We try to guide her, but she just won't listen. Neighbors shot me pitying glances. My hand shook so much I had to set my plate down. I hadn't chipped in for the Vegas bachelor party because I was still paying off my dental surgery, the one they refused to help with. The third betrayal shattered something inside me. After I finally said no to their latest loan request, Dad started calling daily. Your grandmother's medical bills are piling up, he'd say, voice heavy with sighs. If you can't help family, who can you help? Just $3,000 would make a huge difference. The guilt gnawed at me until I visited Grandma at her retirement community. When I cautiously mentioned her medical expenses, she looked puzzled. What bills, dear? My insurance covers everything. I haven't paid a dime out of pocket. That night in my apartment, I surrounded myself with years of text messages, bank statements, and those silly IOUs. I began organizing everything into a spreadsheet. Dates, amounts, and their excuses for needing money. I recorded phone calls, legal in my state, and took screenshots of social media posts showing their luxury purchases, made days after emergency loans. The mounting evidence churned my stomach, but sharpened my resolve. At our last family dinner, as Mom lectured me about being selfish over Tyler's wedding, I noticed a gleam on Dad's wrist, a new Breitling watch, retailing for $8,500. I'd seen it in a catalog he'd left open months ago. Later, I found an online receipt showing the purchase date, one day after I'd lent them $10,000 for overdue property taxes. That realization solidified my resolve. I wasn't just going to recover my money. I was going to end the cycle of manipulation that had defined our relationship for over a decade. The teacher they underestimated had been keeping detailed notes all along. Rachel's office, with its scent of leather and lemon polish, exuded the confidence I desperately needed. She slid a business card across her desk. This is Elena Martinez, my friend who specializes in family law. You should talk to her. Elena reviewed my documentation with a practiced eye, her pen tapping rhythmically as she studied each paper. This isn't just about money, Luna, she said, meeting my gaze. This is financial abuse, and it's been deliberate. The word abuse made me wince, but I'd suspected it for months. Do I have a case? I asked, my voice quieter than I meant. Elena nodded firmly. A strong one. These promissory notes are legally binding, and the pattern of manipulation is undeniable. We can pursue full recovery plus interest. As Elena built my case, my family's demands only grew bolder. During a parent-teacher conference, a group text from Mom popped up. Great news. We've put you down for $8,000 for Tyler's honeymoon. The travel agent needs it by Friday. We know teaching doesn't pay much, but family sacrifices for family. I showed Elena the message. She shook her head, incredulous. There's something else we need to check, she said, typing quickly. With this pattern of exploitation, I want to run a credit check. What Elena uncovered shook even her composed demeanor. Years ago, when I briefly lived at home after college, Tyler had opened a credit card in my name. He'd been using my good credit to fuel his lifestyle, while missed payments tanked my score. This is identity theft, Elena said, her voice firm. Your brother committed fraud. My phone rang, Dad's name on the screen. Luna, we need a family meeting about your attitude, he said without preamble. Sunday dinner. Be there. Elena and I exchanged a glance across her desk. Perfect, she mouthed. That Sunday, I parked outside my parents' house. Through the window, I saw them waiting in the living room. My hands were steady, my mind clear. Ready? Elena asked from the passenger seat. I nodded. The days of being their bank are over. I walked into my parents' house without knocking, the familiar scent of Mom's cinnamon potpourri filling the air. Tyler lounged on the couch, scrolling his phone. Dad stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. Mom sat in her favorite armchair, her face already etched with disappointment. Sit down, Luna, Mom said, gesturing to the ottoman, the spot reserved for family lectures. I stayed standing. I've invited someone to join us. What? Dad's eyebrows shot up. This is a family meeting. Exactly. I opened the door and Elena strode in, her heels clicking confidently on the hardwood, her black leather briefcase in hand. The room went quiet. This is Elena Martinez, my attorney, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. She's here to discuss the $32,476 you owe me, plus interest, and the fraudulent credit card activity. Tyler leapt up, knocking over his water glass, his face paling. You're suing your own family over a few loans. They weren't gifts, I replied coolly. They were loans with terms, dates, and your signatures. Mom gave a nervous laugh. Honey, those were just silly papers. We didn't mean them seriously. The law sees them differently, Elena said, opening her briefcase. She laid documents on the coffee table one by one. These are legally binding promissory notes. These are bank statements showing transfers. And these are court orders freezing your accounts pending investigation. You froze our accounts? Dad bellowed, his face reddening. How dare you? The judge found it straightforward after seeing the evidence, Elena replied calmly. Financial abuse is taken seriously here. This is absurd, Tyler stammered. We're family. Families help each other. Is that why you opened a credit card in my name? I asked. His stunned expression was answer enough. That was a mistake, he muttered. I was going to pay it off. The $12,000 balance and 2 years of missed payments say otherwise, Elena said, placing the credit report on the pile. Mom dissolved into tears. How could you do this to us? After everything we've done for you. Elena continued, unfazed. You have 30 days to arrange payment, or we'll pursue further legal action, including potential fraud charges against Tyler for the credit card. We're your family, Dad pleaded, his anger giving way to panic. I looked at the people who'd manipulated me for years, seeing them clearly for the first time. No, I said softly. Family doesn't steal from family. Elena gathered her papers. We'll be in touch about payment arrangements. Good day. I didn't look back as we left. 3 months later, I received the full amount through a court-ordered payment plan. The judge wasn't swayed by my family's claims of misunderstanding once he saw the paper trail. Tyler faced separate consequences for the credit card fraud, including mandatory financial counseling and a settlement that will take years to clear. His wedding was scaled back from Hawaii to the local country club. The family that once called me financially irresponsible now dodges my calls. Mom occasionally texts, accusing me of tearing the family apart or ruining Tyler's big day. Dad hasn't spoken to me since the court hearing. I used part of the recovered money as a down payment on my first home, a modest 2-bedroom with a yard where I'm starting a garden. It's nothing grand, but it's mine, despite my family's claims I'd never afford a home on a teacher's salary. Last week, I sent them a final message. I was never your bank. I was your daughter and sister. I hope one day you'll see the difference. Their only reply was silence. But for the first time, that silence doesn't sting. It feels like freedom, like the start of a new life shaped by my terms, not theirs. Does this story resonate with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. A like or a hype helps this story reach others facing similar family struggles. Your voice matters in this community, and your support makes a real difference. Standing up for yourself is sometimes the bravest thing you can do.